34. This program is brought to you by the Health Channel and PS Business Parks. My special guest today was with me a year ago when I relaunched this program. Carlos Gazitua. He is the CEO of Sergio's Family Restaurant. He is one of the most innovative and dynamic entrepreneurs in our city and possibly the country. And he's going to share what he has been doing regarding the restaurant, especially after the COVID lockdown. So let's watch that talk right now. Okay, everybody, talk about innovation. Talk about creativity, resourcefulness. Talk about cutting edge, entrepreneurship. All of those words describe my very special guest today, Carlos Gazitua, the CEO of Sergio's Restaurants. What's going on, my friend?
I'm doing great, Pete. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. And we had you on the program last year as we relaunched this show, and honored to bring you back once again. Our conversations are always out of the box, different. Many times we speak and people don't quite understand what's going on because we're kind of ahead of the curve, but that's good. That's what we want it to be. And needless to say, we've had this conversation many times over. What you and all of your colleagues in the restaurant business went through COVID and everything. I mean, that's been talked about endlessly. And now, of course, the conversation is all about how do we go from here after the great pivot that everyone's had to make and things like that. And one of the examples of your creativity and entrepreneurship is taking an item on your menu and blowing it up. And that's called the good old Cuban croqueta. All right. Tell us a little bit about making, and this was, and I went to the event last year when you had it over on Coral Way, the world's longest croqueta. I mean, that's a crazy idea. Tell me about that and how that developed.
Well, it's funny because it happened during the pandemic, which most restaurants were all trying to figure out how to survive. But we wanted to still have fun as a restaurant group. And I remember we did, Elon Musk had talked about going to Mars. And we thought it would be fun to be the first restaurant to make croquetas that you can actually make in Mars. So we did it on April Fools, but we did it as a serious way of giving recipes, and we called them bean me up croquetas. And as we did this as a fun way of showing, hey, if you did frijoles in Mars, and you did beans, you were able to grow it, what ingredients would you need to make a croqueta in Mars? And that's kind of what we did, like a real actual croqueta that they can try, and is actually pretty delicious. Totally vegan because there's no meat that we can grow that we know yet how to do it. So it was done in a really cool way. We presented it to the mayor. And later on, we got a letter from Bacardi saying congratulations. They took it serious that we were ready to go, which we kind of did and kind of didn't. Had a fun way of doing it. And then they said, "What's next? The world's longest croqueta." Well, we had Croqueta Day coming up. For those viewers who don't know, October 1st, we made over 20 million croquetas sold. There is an actual
not on that day. Mind
not,
you, right? Not on that day.
That would be amazing. But in the history of
it reminds me of the old McDonald's, signs over 1 billion hamburgers made and sold and stuff like that. So it's very similar to that, right?
Correct. Very similar, just with croquetas, which is very Dade County concept. And we created that holiday for Dade County, and then we did Broward County. So now South Florida is kind of united into having a proclaimed holiday. So we thought, well, you know what? As a celebration for this year of having Dade and Broward united, why don't we make the world's longest croqueta? But what we did was, to make it unique, is when we did this whole drama of making the fryer and how can we make the world's longest fryer, we documented it all into a movie, because we thought, how many more times will we be able to make this croqueta? All the effort, all the hard work during the pandemic, and yeah, we filmed it all, and it came out to an amazing, fun documentary called Croqueta Nation.
And now you are a movie star. The Oscars were last night. I hope that you'll be nominated next year in the documentary series.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I won't be the host, so I don't get slapped. You know, like
Yeah,
Rock.
well, that's all. That's all. I got my own personal opinions on that. Let's just put it that way.
But yeah, you know, it was fun. We with the movie, we were able to interview all these artists locally, some WWE stars, Enrique Santos, Emilio Stefan was our executive producer on this film, and we made this funny, quirky documentary of making the world's longest croqueta, but also talking a little bit about the history of how croquetas made it to Miami. It also impacted the United States in the culinary scene. So it was a fun, short documentary. We hope to be in LA, New York soon, but it's a cool way of marketing because it's a way of
Yeah.
an innovative way of marketing of your product into the film. I like to say, I think it's the only croqueta that made it to Hollywood.
Okay. And hey, that's that's a nice little documentary to throw on the Food Channel. I don't know if you guys have talked about that, but that would be an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the streaming services, I guess we'll look at once we get past these film festivals, is to see what streaming services we want to provide for the future. Working, it kind of opened the box to some other creative ideas that we're working on now on innovation. But that's the goal, right, Peter? Like keep moving forward, keep creating, keep doing different things, and new doors open up to continue to innovate for your companies.
As you make bold steps moving forward, you discover new things, new ideas, new way of. You just never. You can't stop. I had the honor of being a keynote speaker a few weeks ago at a pretty significant company here in South Florida, and I talked about the fact that there is no there. It's always like going up a tall story without any final floor, top floor. You got to keep going. You arrive to the next floor. You look around. You celebrate. Okay, what's next? And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going from there. And that's just the way I think. And I know you know this probably better than me because you're in the kind of in the trenches there. But it's any business today. And we're going to get into the technology side of all of this, that is serious about growing and not just surviving, has to always be looking forward to the next thing. Even though you look around and business is great and the profits are great and everybody's happy, we all know that that's not permanent. And you've got to keep moving and you got to keep, sometimes you move forward and you don't even know where you're going. But you've got to, that you've got to take steps. And what's going on right now with technology, you and I got together a couple weeks ago, by the way, for the benefit of the audience here in Miami on April 20th. We're going to have an event at Sergio's in Doral called Entrepreneur Spotlight. And we'll have a little networking, but it'll be an up and close where I'm going to sit down with Carlos in front of a group of some entrepreneurs and small business owners and talk about the history of Sergio's and everything that's happening. But a big part of that conversation is going to be technology and how that is now not just a nice thing to do, but it is absolutely an essential, especially in your area of restaurants. Can you explain a little bit more your philosophy on that, your ideas on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think prior to the pandemic, a lot of restaurants were able to survive without using so much technology. But I think those days are over. I think it's a matter of embracing technology. You're right. The concept of thriving and surviving is a very thin line, and it's a line that can change daily, monthly, yearly. This really depends on where you are in your external and internal landscapes. So the embracing of technology, I think, is really the future of the restaurant industry. We've seen, QR codes being implemented in restaurants. We're seeing more curbside. Obviously, the drive-throughs continue to go, but it's more about takeout, delivery, ghost kitchens. You're seeing all these facets of everyone experimenting, trying it out. We did robotics. We were the first restaurant with a robot in our industry here in the state of Florida, and that was a boom for us. We did a recent survey from 6-year-olds to 30-year-olds, and picked robotics as a number 1 to 3 item that is important for our brand. Think about that. Implemented a year ago, and yet we had a consensus from 30 to 60-year-olds that they love to see the robotics as part of the concept, right? And that those are big changes, right? Like you tell me that 5 years ago, you would think that can't happen, especially with a family style restaurant. That you have too many generations, too many ideas. People grew up in different times in their lives, and yet now they view technology as an important factor for your brand. So I think that's just a starting point. The next future will be on how you market, and we really think that a 3.0 web marketing will be the future for restaurants. It's going to change drastically how you market in the future, and that's what we're really focusing on now in the future. Is are using blockchain through NFTs on how we're going to be able to market.
How much can you share with us today regarding the use of NFTs, your particular use of NFTs? Which,
Well,
by the
I
way,
think
for the benefit of the audience, in case you're still putting your arms around the whole, cryptocurrency, blockchain, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. And this is really important because the concept here is if you create something that is truly unique, the sky's the limit.
Agree. I think with these non-fungible tokens, basically, I think everyone's going to market this way. Every company will in the future. And the reason why is because right now marketing is very static. It's a yearly approach. Hey, I market this brand. I'm marketing this new style, and then basically next year you got to do the next season and the next fall and the next fall, and you're always trying to come up with ideas to create, but there's no connection. And with blockchain, now you're able to connect. So I'll give you a perfect example. Like we're looking at NFTs becoming utility experiences where every artwork that a brand gives or sells is part of an experience in the real world. That's where we think the value is. That's what we're creating a new company called Blue Keys, which will be launching soon, which will be for restaurants, hotels, and everyone else. And it's all about, with this artwork, you can align with an artist, but you have an experience. So I'll give you a perfect example. Let's just say that we can give you a picture of a coffee cup. And that coffee cup represents a free coffee for a year. Let's say that coffee was really worth $550 if you really had one coffee a day. But this brand will sell it to you for $300. So you think, hey, you know what? It's great value. I got discounted some coffee. I can go every day if I wanted to. But then you start associating, start gamifying life. And that's where we think the marketing, the Web 3.0 is going to happen, where you say, well, you're also raffled to this event, because they have a great network, because this restaurant networks with this other restaurant, or this raffling off backstage passes to this, or be able to have an event of maybe a Croqueta Day, you get invited to that VIP pass. So that's just a perfect small example of what we think the future will lie. Because once you start adding more NFTs and start communicating, saying, hey, we had this new event coming up, but the people who are invited that bought this 2 years ago, that had that artwork, you're invited for 50% off, or you're invited for free to the VIP lounge if you buy the ticket. So it almost becomes what I call gamifying life. And I think that is, in essence, where we're going as in the world. But I think it's also going to benefit brands and restaurants. I'll give you an example. Restaurants a lot of times compete against each other. We don't collaborate with one another. We're in a little isolated like pens, basically competing for the market share, competing for the consumer to come for us. But I do view that the future for the ones who want to survive, right, and thrive, not just survive but thrive, you're going to have to think different, and you're going to have to think of the network effect that you can bring to the table. And that's what networking is all about. And I know you're very good at that, Pete, but that's what it's all about. And I think I encourage restaurants and hotels to think differently in the future, because that's really where you're going to make the money and the connections to make your restaurant different and a better experience for the guests.
How is this different to discounting or discounted prices on your items?
Yeah, so discounting is something that you see like maybe in a Groupon or something like a coupon. I think all that is going to kind of go away because the reality is you're not premium up the opportunities for experiences. You don't get an experience with a discount, right? You don't get an experience with just the price is lower. What you want to do is, I think, in life is really create fans. And how do you create a fan? Is let them be part of your team, let them be part of your friends, right? Which is why our company is going to be called for Sergio, the Sergios and Friends. We want you to be a friend. So we want you to be in our network, right? And once someone's in your network and you're able to say, hey, by the way, whoever has this car from a year ago or 2 years ago, just for this week, you bought our NFT. You're getting a 50% bottle of wine off this weekend, and it's only for this weekend, right? And we just ping you because you have our artwork. That is ultimately a great experience for the customer because they feel like they're a fan. We're not giving this to everyone. We're not discounting to everyone and saying, please come in. And I think that's a huge difference on how to market, right? Because there's called marketing of I need business, I'm desperate, or there's marketing about I'm going to market to my fan base, the people who are actually part of my team who are supporting me, and I'm going to benefit them as part of membership. Totally different mindset from a business side and also from a consumer side.
You know, you mentioned membership, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You go to places like Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club. You pay an annual membership to have access to special pricing on certain products, and we've seen many times when we go to a Costco on a weekend, and they have certain products that are there maybe for just that weekend. It's not always, you got to go this Saturday and Sunday because there's this great deal on computers or whatever it might be, which they put them out there so that everybody can see them almost front of the store. But they're only there for 2 days, and that's it. And they're gone. And then I'll come back Monday, and you come back Monday, and it's gone. So that creates scarcity. And I think the thing about NFTs and blockchain, and we can have a whole different conversation here, is about kind of building in scarcity to your product where, you don't have a million of these. And it goes back to having collectibles and baseball cards or art. There's only so many of those. And if you really are interested, you got to jump on it.
Correct. That is how marketing is going to be in the future. That's how people are going to network with each other. Other brands are going to associate cards together with NFTs. If you have my NFT, you have his NFT, it equals this in the real world. That's where the opportunities come. That's where every restaurateur is going to want to jump, not on our platform, but really think on how to do Web 3.0 marketing. Build out your plan, build out your 5-year plan, 3-year plan on how you can market differently, because the connection of the dots will happen, and that will make value for your business. Membership, SaaS models is not nothing new, but blockchain provides us the opportunity for the small business to finally do it, right? We didn't have maybe the technology before, like a Costco, but small businesses now through blockchain will have the technology very soon to be able to market in a whole new way, which obviously opens doors. And that's what we talked about before, right? Like you're going up the escalator. Well, you know what? You thought there was only 50 floors, but now you see, oh my God, there's 200 more floors above that. And it's all technology, which opens the doors. And it's going to close doors, by the way, too, as well. It's going to close doors for those that you already passed. So you can't think the same way before. So that level that you thought, oh, I can just go back to that level, it's going to change.
No, it's the world we're living in. It's a whole different paradigm shift where you can take things from the past, fundamentals, and apply it to new ideas and new technologies. But to do business the way we were doing even 2 years ago, it's just not going to be relevant anymore. It's going to be obsolete. Carlos, to wrap things up, and God, we could be talking about this for hours, but any final comments as to yourself and where do again, we've talked a little bit about it, but how far can the restaurant industry now go especially, and we think in the back of our minds, what if we get another COVID situation hit us again, where, the world stops, whatever that might be. People have to continue to eat. What can you do, and what do you think should happen in your industry moving forward?
I think the restaurants really learned the lesson that they have to create vertical channels to survive. So that's what we're really focused on. We're focused on the e-commerce with the new movie that came out. We want to do croquetas to the retail stores. Groceries didn't close during the pandemic, so we want to start figuring out how do we get into that channel. We're going to start doing healthy prepared meals, but you have to be part of the membership to do that, right? So we're trying to create uniqueness and be carding a member for us. And then it's also about takeout, delivery, curbside, all these technologies. What can you do to incorporate in the future for the future pandemic? And then you have other areas that people are testing, and we're testing as well, ghost kitchens, to kind of experiment your vertical sales channel. So I think what the future lies is a continued swift of motion of what areas and sales are going to be. But again, we talked about moving, experimenting, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Because if another COVID hits, you're going to be well prepared based on your network and what you've created, which is so important, right? 5 years down the line, if you created these networks, you're able to move and ask for help. And I always say, sorry, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. And if you have the channels to ask for help because you've created them, that makes you having more opportunities in the future.
You don't just create customers, you're creating family and people that are working each other, and that experience. And once you can experience that, then the collaborations are so much better. Carlos, my friend, thank you so much for being with me once again. It's always incredibly exciting and insightful to have these conversations with you, and down the road we'll be talking about how our conversation today is obsolete, if you know what I mean. Because there's always something fresh and new. So thank you so much for being with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. You take care. Bye-bye. Big thank you to Carlos Gazitua. It is absolutely amazing the way he is always one step ahead of where things are going on, and especially now that he is embracing the world of blockchain and NFTs. Thank you very much for your comments and your feedback. Keep them coming over. It helps me to do a good job for you on these weekly broadcasts. When you get a chance, follow me on all my social media platforms. And if you got a second, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Pete Delatorre. I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves. Go out there and make it happen. God bless.